Do you recall your most gratifying boss fight in Terraria? I certainly do, because I've embarked on a quest to make every boss encounter in Terraria immensely satisfying by employing the most extraordinary strategies ever witnessed in the world of Terraria. This is Aiming for Gaming, and today we're aiming for a boss slaying. First of all, let me introduce you to Juggernaut, a brilliant strategist from the Three Kingdoms. Today he will be helping us by sharing his thoughts and strategies. But before they embark on our boss slaying spree, we must gather essential materials, weapons and gear. Our journey begins as usual, by collecting wood and exploring caves to find valuables. Once that's done, we'll construct a simple base to house 4 NPCs, a crafting area, multiple chests and a garden. So, what items shall we gather for this ambitious endeavor? We must find underground huts to increase our maximum health. Oh little Faye, which treasure do you wish to show me?
Serious?
Additionally, danger sense potions will aid us in locating NPCs underground faster. If we stumble upon traps, let's disarm all dart traps and explosives with surgical precision, as we'll surely find a better use for them in the future. Grab a pressure plate as well. The flare gun is vital for one of the bosses, so be sure to pick it up. And if you happen to come across stages of hearts or bosses, don't hesitate to take them along. As for ores, we need iron or lead, depending on your world generation, to craft an anvil, and gold or platinum. The rest of the lower level ores are useless, so don't waste your time on them. Also be sure to find gems. Gathering 15 of the same type will enable you to craft a hook. We'll start by crafting a platinum pickaxe to mine demonite ore, followed by platinum or gold armor, and any accessories you find that boost defense. Oh, and if you encounter rabbits, scorpions or different squirrels, catch them with a bug net, which can be acquired from the trader NPC. You'll need around 150 of these creatures. I'll explain why later. Interestingly, these creatures often spawn near areas with NPCs. Maybe NPCs attract them? Regardless, keep an eye out for them as they spawn quite frequently. Meanwhile, let's construct several towns to place pylons for swift travel. Now that we've made the necessary preparations, it's time to slay our first boss. So, let me ask you, which boss should meet their doom first? Some might say the Eye of Cthulhu, while others might argue for the Slime King. However, this time our initial target will be the Queen Bee, and not just one of them, but around 13 total. Let me explain my peculiar strategy. Have you heard the story of King Menhu, who lived in a poisoned jungles? He was utterly reckless, and Juggernaut captured him 7 times, releasing him each time, which resulted in him losing influence on his people. His generals eventually retreated, and the jungle was pacified. I plan to employ the same tactic with the Queen Bee. First, we need to craft some beehives. To do so, allow yourself to die 7 times. Then place 7 tombstones next to each other to create a mini biome called a cemetery. Place a heavy workbench inside, and this mini biome effect will enable you to craft new items, including beehives. These beehives are placeable versions of those annoying beehives found in the jungle. Craft 1 or 2 of these, deconstruct the tombstones and head to the jungle. To vanquish our honey-loving foe, we'll set up a special trap. But how, you might ask, without access to a mechanic? The truth is, natural wires can be found in various places, and the jungle is no exception. Stumble upon a trap with a long horizontal wire. You can easily find one by using a pressure plate. It will reveal all active wires for you. Next, prepare the arena, consisting of 3 segments. One for the beehive, another for all the stages with enemies, and a third for you, with a pressure plate in between. Make sure both your pressure plate and stages are connected to the same natural wire. Jump several times to let the stages spawn the maximum allowed number of creatures. Now watch the magic unfold. The Queen Bee will attempt to protect the small bees, dashing towards your line. In doing so, she will target all other enemies, making a lethal mistake. Rinse and repeat, but remember to refresh the mobs, as they also die from this. And the Queen Bee ends up participating in a fight she was never meant to be part of. In the end, all the jungle's valuables will be mine as I gently release the Queen Bee over and over again. Our next target is Skeletron. Normally, this boss requires careful tactics to avoid him and maintain distance, but we are going to take a different approach. We'll remain static throughout the fight. Have you heard of Sauron's 8 gates formation, which Juggernaut learned and mastered after years of training? They say wisdom comes from learning from others, and Terraria has its own Sauron. Allow me to introduce you to an ultimate damage prevention strategy I discovered on the channel of a YouTuber named Verdas. This method is a more compact version of a famous damage prevention technique that not only shields you from harm, but also enables you to retaliate against your enemies. The idea behind this strategy is that certain enemies like skeletons will deal only 1 damage per attack once you have enough defense, followed by invincibility frames. We'll exploit this by placing a statue with skeletons inside our damage prevention setup. By summoning them to the limit, we can enter the setup and let the skeletons keep us invincible while we are still able to attack our enemies with minimal risk. The trick lies in finding a natural wire near the entrance. I found one that turns on the lights. Now we'll build our damage prevention setup in a way that the wire goes through the stages, then kill 50 of them for a banner. This banner significantly reduces the damage we take from skeletons. With the boss stage and my accessories, I now have a total defense of 40 without even considering potions. I receive a mere 1 damage, which is easily regenerated in our cozy mini arena. Now let's test this strategy against Skeletron. The fight took a while as the hands were behind walls half of the time, but on the other hand, I was well protected in my own way as well. I'd say we're even. With a dungeon at my disposal, I obtained a shadow key, Muramasa and some other valuable items from their chests. But most importantly, I was finally able to invite my precious redhead lady to our humble settlement. The hunter potion proved to be a great help. After that, I spent some more time searching for buffing stations and even stumbled upon a mythical modifier for magic missile. Is this even legal? I don't need anything else from this place, which means we can now defeat the Eater of Walls. And for this worm, I've prepared something special. Have you heard the story of the mighty Wave fleet? It was extremely big, but in the end it was burned by a Shu and Wu alliance near the Red Cliff. The Eater of Walls reminds me of that day. Do you know what the biggest fear of the mighty worm is? A force so powerful that half of the bosses in Terraria would rather avoid the fight. The answer is… a rabbit! Not just one, but around 100 of them, along with the help of target dummies. And all of this is due to the mechanics of spawn limits. In Terraria, only 200 living creatures can exist at the same time, including enemies, critters, NPCs and even bosses. Surprisingly, target dummies also count towards this limit, so we'll have to craft them. First, we'll buy a sickle from the trader and then collect hay from grass using this versatile tool. Next, we'll craft worm food to summon as many worms as we desire. Then we'll construct a simple arena where we'll release as many bunnies as the game allows, and then fill the remaining spawn limit with target dummies. You might wonder how we can tell when the limit is reached. The trick is that we can build more dummies than the limit allows, but any dummies exceeding the limit won't be affected by your attacks. So just check them with a spear or something that pierces and destroy all non-targetable dummies and one more to create an empty slot to summon the boss. Then use the worm food and…
Wait a minute!
Technically, this wasn't even a cheesy fight, it was no fight at all. You might ask, what the hell just happened? It's quite simple actually. The Eater of Worlds is a boss with multiple segments, and each segment counts towards the spawn limit. Moreover, the minimum length of this boss is 2 segments, and we left him with only 1 vacant space. The worm spawned with fewer segments than it needs to survive and died instantly. That's what happens when you bind a large army into one massive chained entity. They learned their lesson, and so did the Eater of Worlds. Now our task is simple: collect the loot from this boss and move on to our next target. And my next target is the Eye of Cthulhu. But before that, I've constructed a simple arena with lava flooring to farm the Blood Moon. And while our zombies are burning, I would kindly ask you to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. This will help me a lot and motivate me to make more videos for you. I was lucky and got money trove to facilitate item transportation. I also dealt with a goblin army invasion and found their brilliant inventor tied up on the ground. I released him and purchased rocket boots and a tinkerer's workshop. Now let's get back to the boss. Have you heard about Juggernauts? Juggernauts are machines invented by Juggernaut's wife. They resemble fire-breathing tigers. With the help of Juggernaut, I plan to defeat the Eye of Cthulhu in less than a second. However, to achieve this feat, I need one more thing – Shimmer. This marvelous liquid has numerous uses, including providing items with permanent buffs when you throw a heart, star, fruit or golden worm into it. But the most critical property of Shimmer is that it reflects specific projectiles, allowing them to bounce for quite a long time instead of vanishing after 3 bounces. This means I can throw a significant number of these projectiles to obliterate the boss. The problem is that the Eye of Cthulhu won't follow us underground, making our task seemingly impossible. Or is it? Here's where our trusty mechanic comes into play, as she sells wires I can use to make pumps. We'll place an inlet pump in the Shimmer pool and connect it to a long wire leading to the surface. Then we'll place an outlet pump on the surface and fill the artificial pool with Shimmer. Now it's time to complete our arena and put our Juggernaut strategy to the test. It seems like that Juggernaut exceeded expectations, such brilliance from Juggy's wife. On to the next boss then. This time it's the Slime King. One of the best strategies involves luring your enemy into a trap they cannot escape, like in the maze Zhuge Kangming used to save his lord from the battle against Wu. Once you get inside, you will never leave. And I've prepared just such a trap. To create it, we'll need several items. Firstly, around 200 dungeon bricks, as they are immune to explosions. Then we'll build 2 long pillars made of dungeon bricks and set up 8 lines of wiring, explosives and pressure plates. You may recall that I gathered explosives during my exploration, but you can craft more by combining dynamite with wire. Each explosive covers a radius of 10 blocks, so ensure that the next line is below that. Keep in mind that the Slime King is quite large, but becomes smaller as it loses health, so more pressure plates are needed in the bottom lines. Each explosive will deal around 500 health damage, so 7 or 8 lines should be sufficient. With the setup complete, it's time to lure the Slime King into the trap. Piece of cake! By now you might be thinking that all our strategies rely on powerful weapons, automation or traps. Well, it's time to defy expectations, because I'm going to defeat the next boss using a pickaxe. Yes, you heard it right, a pickaxe with brute force. This is where our flare gun comes in handy. Remember the spawn limit? Terraria has another limit, a projectile limit of 1000. This means that no more than 1000 projectiles can exist simultaneously. Unfortunately, the entire moveset of the Deer Globs, our next target, is based on projectiles. So what can we do with this knowledge? It's simple. Find a flare gun in chests and buy 1000 flares from the trader. Fire all the flares. Each flare lasts for 10 minutes and it takes around 5 minutes to fire all of them. This gives us a 5-minute window to defeat the Deer Globs. Now the battle is even, Deer Globs with only melee attacks against my trusty pickaxe. Remember, shoe generals know how to duel. With just one boss remaining before hard mode, it's time for a grand finale. And I've prepared an incredibly powerful trick just for this occasion, the yin-yang technique. Remember the altar Juggernaut built for the Chibi battle, where he summoned wind to ensure victory for allied forces. Today we shall summon both fire and light. The altar will use teleporters to transport one target to two separate sides, far away from each other. We'll also trap one skeleton inside a teleporter room, automatically teleporting him every 1-4 seconds. The rest of the trick relies on the magic missile and flame lash, which can be found in the dungeon and underworld respectively. Both weapons release magic projectiles that seek out the nearest enemy. However, when the target moves quickly enough, the projectile will endlessly follow them. We'll use this to our advantage, gathering enough projectiles in our altar area. Now let the ritual begin and summon the wall of flash. Well, what can I say? It was more than enough, don't you think? The wall of flash was vanquished in like a second. And now the world has transitioned into hard mode, meaning I have a host of new bosses to defeat. But fear not, I still have plenty of tricks up my sleeve. For now, I believe I have achieved my goal of creating an immensely satisfying boss slaying experience. If you want to not miss the next part, just visit my channel and consider subscribing, it's that easy. Thank you all for watching and see you next time.